Welcome back everyone. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at setting up an external style sheet, okay? Now, so far, we've looked at setting up our style sheet here inside of our HTML document. Now, once your website gets larger, you have more styles you're laying out here in CSS, and you have much more HTML, it can get quite confusing with having these two things mixed together. So a good way of setting this up is by having an external CSS style sheet where it only contains our CSS, and that just makes it a lot easier to modify your CSS without having to scroll through all this HTML. So what I'm going to do here is delete our style sheet tags and CSS code right here. And what we're going to do is go over to the left hand side in our files tab, and you should see here we have style.css. And if we select that, right here we have our CSS style sheet, and this right here is where we can write down our CSS code. So like before, we were modifying the header1 tag up here to be red and have a colored background. So we can do the exact same thing right here. I'm going to go h1, I'm going to go two squiggly brackets, put it on a new line, I'm going to go color :red semicolon. So in this case, remember, we have basically the tag we want to modify, and then we have two squiggly brackets, and inside of those two squiggly brackets is where we are laying out our elements and what we want to modify about them, or our attributes and what we want to modify about them. So first of all, we write down the attribute that we want to modify, we then put a colon, and then we put the value that we want to give to that attribute. In our case, it's red, and then we put a semicolon. Okay, now let's also go ahead and change the background color to be blue. So here we are going to go background -color :blue semicolon. Okay, now we can then go ahead, return to our index.html here, and you'll see if I press the run button, that CSS is no longer there, so it's just going to give the default layout to the header1 tag. So how do we load in this external style sheet into our actual HTML document? Well, we need to go up here to where we have the header tags up here, and inside of these header tags is where we are going to create another link tag right here, okay, where we are linking the icon for our web browser icon at the top left corner of the tab. We need to do the exact same thing for loading in the style sheet. So we're going to open up a new link tag here, and the rel is going to be equal to style sheet. Okay, we are specifying what we want to load up right here, and then we need to go href equals, and we need to give it the path to our style sheet right here. Now, if you were in subfolders, you would go the folder name /style.css, but since everything here is in the same folder, I'm just going to go style.css like so, and end it off like that. Okay, so we've got our style sheet loaded up right here. Let's see it in action. So I'm going to click on the run button up here, and there we go. We've got the CSS style sheet now being applied to our HTML, even though we don't have the CSS written inside of the document here. And this just makes it a lot easier to write your CSS and your HTML in their own separate documents, okay? So if you want to modify the CSS, you just go over here, and if you want to modify the HTML, you just go back to your index.html document. Okay, now let's have a look at modifying the paragraph tag right here. So we might want to change the font size of the paragraph. Let's go to our style.css sheet, and we're going to create a new rule here. Okay, so we're going to be modifying the paragraph. So we put down P for the P tag. We then open up two squiggly brackets, and in here, let's just say we want to up the size a bit. So here what we're going to do is go font-size, and you'll see inside here REPL.it and many other IDEs, when you start writing down code, it does pop up with a bunch of possible things to enter in. We're then going to go colon, and then we need to give it a value. Now, this can be done in a number of different ways, as you can see here in this scroll list. I think the simplest way is doing it in terms of pixels. So let's just say we want to make this text, let's just say 30px, okay, for 30 pixels in size. And this is in height as well, so 30 pixels tall. You put a semicolon, click run, and you'll see here that the paragraph tag is now 30 pixels in height, and as a matter of fact, it's bigger than our header1. So let's bring this down in size a bit. We might want to make this only 15 pixels, and let's change the color of the text as well. So we can go color colon, and let's change this to, we can look for a list right here. Let's change this to a dark red. Put a semicolon there, click run. So here we go, we have our updated font size, we have our updated color. Let's go back to index.html and let's modify the header tag up here to not display HTML page structure, but let's go up here and enter in hello CSS. Click run, and there we go. So we can update the HTML and the CSS in their own individual files. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to go over before we continue on to the next lesson, and that is modifying the CSS of individual tags themselves. Okay, so let's just say you only want one paragraph tag to have a certain style. Now, a quick and easy way of doing that is by, for example, if we go to the paragraph tag right here, actually let's go to style.css and remove this paragraph tag here first, just so we don't have those clashing. Go to index.html, and inside of the p tag here, we can go style equals, and then we can enter in some CSS here. Okay, we can enter in CSS as the attribute of this specific tag. So we can go, for example, color :green. Okay, and that off with a semicolon, just like before. Hit run, and you'll see that we are modifying this specific paragraph tag, okay? We aren't modifying the one down below where it says HTML is easy. That is still got the default formatting. But this specific paragraph tag here has that style built into it, okay? So that's a way to do it. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. And in the next lesson, we are going to be looking at selecting by ID for CSS. So I'll see you all then.